And now, Move the Sticks with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks.
Hey everybody, welcome to Move the Sticks, presented by New Era. DJ and Bucky back, and Buck, we've got the tight end position to focus on today's episode.
Man, we talk about the tight ends being the new matchup nightmare position in the National Football League. Well, we're going to talk about the prototypes. And what we're going to do is we're going to really talk to some people who really know the position well. Hunter Henry, Tom Tilesco, both from the LA Chargers. Anthony Becht, former longtime tight end, is also going to chime in and give us some insight on the position. And then we're going to transition from that and talk about training camp spotlight. Two divisions, NFC West, AFC West. We're going to break it down, give you the hot storylines that are coming out of each of those respective divisions.
Yeah, looking forward to jumping into those divisions. And this prototype series has been a lot of fun for us. You can go NFL.com/MTS prototype, and you can listen to all of these episodes where we go one episode and focus on one position. I think you will enjoy that series. You're going to get a little taste of it today as we go through these tight ends and get to those tight end interviews. Before I toss to those interviews that we had, Buck, the best of that sound, everything else going all right for you, man? Everything good?
Yeah, everything is good, man. This is a great time. Like, we had the first week of games for the preseason in the books, so we finally got a chance to see those players. And so I'm really excited about where we're going. We know that football is upon us, and it's only going to get better and better from this day forward.
All right, well, let's not waste any more time. Let's get to our interviews. Again, Bucky mentioned it. Hunter Henry, young, up-and-coming tight end for the Los Angeles Chargers. His general manager, Tom Tilesco, man who's been around a lot of great tight ends, as well as Anthony Becht, 10-plus years in the National Football League at the tight end position. Here's our conversations. When you're looking at that position, all the great ones that you've been around, and you can run through some of those names because you've been around some all-time greats, but just trying to find some things in common with the great tight ends you've had a chance to be around and study.
You know, with every position, a lot of it's just the makeup and the character and the work ethic, the drive, the desire. You got to have all of that. But as far as the actual on the field, the tight end position, it's getting more and more difficult to project those players from the college level because there are very few that do everything that we want them to do at this level. The college game is so spread out, and so many tight ends in college are split out as receivers. And we have to teach them a little bit how to go from a three-point stance on the line of scrimmage and teach them how to block. It's a lot that's asked for in that position. It's almost like a Superman position. You have to be able to run and catch like a receiver, and you have to be able to block like an offensive lineman. So those guys are very, very hard to find. You know, we have a tight end here, Hunter Henry, that is a well-rounded tight end. Can do a little bit of both and do it well. If you can find one, you're very lucky.
One of the more complete tight ends the National Football League poised for a huge year. I want to go to Antonio Gates. You got a chance to be around for a very long time. People historically have pointed to a basketball background, not just with Antonio Gates, with Tony Gonzalez, with a bunch of these guys. How do you see that sport, being a big basketball fan, translating at that position?
Oh, I think it translates a lot. I mean, like you mentioned those guys. Jimmy Graham was another one. Running around for the tight end position involves it's a lot of contact with linebackers, with safeties, and you have to have a good feel for leverage, using your body to kind of box out and to be able to catch in traffic just like you're going up for a rebound in traffic against other people. So, and you're right, Antonio has all the short area quickness in the field to get open. It's hard to have both, and that's why Antonio will be in the Hall of Fame. And I mean, I don't even know if we had a 40 time on Antonio Gates coming out of college. Now he's faster than he looks sometimes, but what he really has what separates him is his separation quickness, and that's what you have to have. And then, like you said, you add in the feel, the instincts, and the hands, and the toughness and concentration to catch in traffic, because as a tight end, where a lot of your balls are caught in between the hashes. Yeah, so that's I think that basketball background does help, and there's a good amount of tight ends that are like that in the league, and probably more and more moving forward.
In 2003, 2004, we started putting that separate column up there for nickel corners. And so you had your corners, then we separated the nickel guys with the inside guys. And then it kind of got to the point where you're doing that with slot receivers. You had your X and you had your slot receivers. At the tight end position, you mentioned you want somebody that's well-rounded that can do everything, but the college game is not giving you many of those well-rounded guys. Do you separate them on the board between, hey, this is a flexed out guy, or this is a move guy, versus this is a pure inline wide tight end?
Yeah, we do, and that goes all the way back. Bill Polian and Dom Neely, when I was coming up in scouting, they had always done that. We have two different columns for tight ends. We have split into basically a receiving type tight end and a blocking type tight end. And if you're lucky enough to have both, we just put you in the athletic tight end category. But yeah, we split out the tight end groups, and we do the same thing at receiver. We have 3 different columns for receivers, 2 different columns for corners, and for some other positions, just so you know, hey, this is the style of their play. And like I said, this game is very specific as far as what the roles those players will play. And yeah, we've always done that for the tight end on our draft board, and that goes back 20 plus years.
Yeah, I love that. Again, you want to be able to look at that board and get a visual of what a player is. It's a card, it's a piece of paper, and now with all these digital boards, I guess it's projected. But to be able to see what he is and what he does, I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, we're still on magnets here.
Are you?
Yeah, we're still on magnets here.
Did you ever have to print them out when you started out? That was one of my first gigs.
Heck
oh,
yeah.
What a miserable chore that was.
Well, I mean, it was printing them out, and then our draft cards have a lot of information on them, and a lot of it used to be with a Sharpie, putting different designations on there, different colors. We used to write different things on there. So when you looked up at the board, that board could literally talk to you. And we have everything in the computer, we always have, but to be able to sit there draft day or even sitting in a meeting to look up at the board, see a card and get a feel for that player just by looking at that card. I'm a big visual person. I love that. I may look young, but I'm still a little bit old school when it comes to how those draft cards go up on the board.
Last one, because this just brought me to a different story. We had an incident one time when I was in Baltimore. We did the red star black dot. So every scout got to put the red star on one player. Guy you just wanted on the team. You put the black dot on one player, no matter what, you didn't want him. So there was a linebacker. I won't say who it was. But he's supposed to go in like the top 2-3 rounds, and he had a black dot from our area scout. And the owner's in the room and all that. And you kind of see that black dot like that's a do not touch. Well, Tom, we start getting into the 4th round, and we get into the 5th round. By the time we got to the 6th round, one of the powers that be kind of whispered over and said, we need to get a new card for that linebacker. Go ahead and remove that black dot. It's the 6th round right now. He's been punished enough.
You know what? We do some similar things, but if we have a black dot guy on the board, I'd rather just move that guy off the board.
Well, moral of the story is that player did not work out. So you stick by your guns. You put a black dot on the player.
You're right.
You do not touch.
There
that
you
means
go.
you do not touch.
Yep.
Lesson learned.
That's right.
Hey, man, I appreciate so much you giving me your time, and I look forward to visiting with you out there at Chargers camp. Well, Hunter, I just got a chance to speak with your boss there in Tom Tilesco, talking about this tight end position, and obviously your name came up in the conversation. I want to go back to your story, though, beginning in high school, because when you're looking at the evolution of a tight end and how you grow and groom a tight end, you didn't even play the position in high school, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I was actually a receiver, so that kind of morphed into, I was a tight end receiver a little bit, so I just kind of, I learned a lot about, I think, the pass concepts and different things like that in high school, but we were a spread, run and gun kind of team, so really didn't put my hand in the dirt until I was in college, so I had a lot to learn pretty quick, but felt like I picked it up good.
You get a chance to play with Antonio Gates, who's going to go into the Hall of Fame, and you're kind of have come up in this era where we've seen so many great tight ends. I know you get a chance to study Antonio on the practice field during your time with the Chargers, but outside of him, looking around the league, is there any other guys that you pay attention to on crossover tape or in the offseason that you're studying and learning from?
Oh, man, I try to watch as many guys as I can. I grew up watching Tony Gonzalez, Witten, different guys like that. But I think nowadays, I just like to pick up different things from all different kind of guys. Kelsey, Ertz, I love what Ertz is doing. Delaney Walker is a guy I love to watch. He's different, and we're definitely different body types for sure. But still, you can always put, I think, little things in your game. You're not going to obviously mirror what they're doing, but you can just kind of watch what they're doing and try to learn and try to put that into your game.
How about the point of attack? Working in the run game is something that, man, there's tremendous value. We saw T.J. Hawkinson go very high coming out of Iowa this year because his ability as a two-way player there in the pass game as well as in the run game. As a point of attack player, just walk us through as an evaluator, what should we be looking for when you're evaluating that side of the game? A lot of times you say, look, you just give me a stalemate, just try and mirror and just wall a guy off. But what do you pay attention to when you're studying other guys, and what can we focus on?
Yeah, I think obviously at the tight end position, we're going to get some bigger dudes sometimes, and so you're not always going to get a lot of movement. You're not going to just blow dudes off the ball. But I definitely watch technique. I think you can definitely watch like your footwork and just kind of knowing what they're doing. with the hand placement, different things like that. So for me, footwork and hand placement is huge. I think the 49ers are a team that we actually watched this offseason that with Kittle and the other guy, I'm trying to think of his name. I think it was Selleck, I think.
Yeah. It's
but them together, we just watched a lot of their zones and just how they were like opening up and different things like that, and just watched their footwork and hands and just how they were working to the second level. So I think you definitely can watch not just passing schemes, but you can watch some guys run blocking and pick up a lot of stuff and put that into your game.
How about last thing here on the off season? Obviously, a lot of time during this period of time, develop some chemistry and camaraderie there with your quarterback and Phillip Rivers. I know Phillip's not on like Instagramming out videos, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say you guys have gotten together a little bit in the off season. What do those workouts look like, and what do you guys work on?
Yeah, we have actually. I was actually down in Florida. He has a place down there and goes down there a bunch. So I actually met up with him. I got to work out with a couple times. So it's kind of a place I grew up going to. And but any time with Phil is super valuable. So and just building that relationship, building that chemistry, especially after missing last year, I think it's huge. Just continue to build from where we left off. I think I feel like we kind of know each other just even in that short amount of time that we been together. Obviously it's not Gates and Rivers like that, but it's pretty easy to pick up from like what he wants and different things like that he wants from us. So it's always fun to be with him, pick his brain, and just be around him.
Well, I can't thank you enough for your time. I know you're busy getting ready for the season. I'll see you out there at Chargers camp here in a couple weeks, Hunter. Appreciate you, man.
All right, man. Have a good one. Thanks for having me on.
All right, so excited to be joined by Anthony Becht, and we're talking about the tight end position. Who better to talk to than somebody that was a first-round pick, spent 11 years in the National Football League at the position. So, Anthony, I'm going to give you a softball here. You can brag on your position. How smart do you have to be to play tight end?
Oh, wow. I mean, I think this day and age at the tight end position, especially when I was playing, under the offensive tutelage of guys like John Gruden, and then doing a little bit of the digit system in St. Louis. To me, you got to be multifaceted. Number one, you got to understand multiple positions. So you got to be able to play the game like an offensive lineman. You have to be able to run routes similar to wide receivers. And then as far as when you're talking about West Coast systems, the multitude of different types of shifts and movements and where you're at, you're usually the piece that you kind of see moving all around. I mean, you look at a guy like Kelsey, who in Kansas City and Andy Reid's system, he's almost a joker. I mean, he's everywhere, and that's beneficial if you can do all those things plus be an inline blocker. So, to me, I just feel like what you're being asked to do at that position in offenses that understand that it can be a definite advantage for you is sky's the limit. If you're a smart tight end, you can definitely handle more stuff. You can be more productive, I think, in the offense that you're playing in.
Another I want to talk to you about instincts. Just the importance of instincts, understanding space, understanding how to maneuver in and around space and make yourself big. Can you just touch on the importance of instincts at that position?
Yeah, so, you look at the way different tight ends play the game now, and I'll just kind of go with like a Gronk and a Witten. Those are two guys that, to me, when you look at Jason Witten play, he's not fast, but he understands the techniques and the spacing and the leverage of the defender that he's playing against, and he utilizes that in his routes all the time. Now, if he were just to run out there and you clocked it and you say, okay, well, it probably wouldn't be, some of your great route running as far as the speed is concerned, but as far as getting open, he's been phenomenal. Gronk, another guy, as you've seen him over his years, and he's been banged up, he's been able to position his body, use his strength to really just kind of suck the ball in at any point on the field, and Tom Brady just puts it in an area where he can go get it, and he does. And, those are far in between. You don't find those kind of guys all the time.
We talk about the running back position. We use that phrase contact balance a lot. Can you maintain your balance through contact? And you look at the tight end position, there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of mud. You're catching the ball in a lot of traffic. So contact strength, being able to catch the ball in crowds and absorb contact, is that something you see that guys either have? Can it be taught? And how important do you view that in the evaluation of the position?
Well, when you're talking about contact, it's, okay, lowering your shoulder, running into a guy, that's not exactly what it means. It means, how quickly can you press off, get that impact off and release yourself from that defender. Because let's be honest, all linebackers and safeties are going to hold you, right, Daniel? We know that. That's how they do it. That's the only way they can guard a good tight end is if they grab you. And you gotta counter that with a few punches yourself, and we always say don't extend the arm, but you get that, you flip the elbow in, you kind of get them leaning a little bit, you utilize the press in the top of your route to get them going one way so that, there's contact there, but you're getting them off leaning a certain way now that you get that nice press and separation. So I look at a guy like Nick Boyle, I trained Nick Boyle when he came out of college, and I instantly saw a guy that was going to be probably the best blocking tight end in the NFL. Let's be honest. If he's not that, then he's pretty close to it. But yet, he's able to run some intermediate routes, be effective, and do some things in the passing game as well. And I think the NFL, to me, still wants that tight end.
How different is the game when you're standing up, basically functioning as a slot receiver for the first time to have to go in the NFL level against grown men and put your hand on the ground?
Well, from my experience, I wasn't detached too much from West Virginia. I was considered a quote-unquote complete tight end. But when I got to the league, the speed of movement from the second and third level players was mind-boggling to me. I just remember running some early routes, my first year, and just seeing basically just blurs of color running in front of me. And I really had no concept of my depth of my route. I was just hoping that I was going to get to the point where I needed to be. And then by then, the ball's whizzing in your face. Vinny Testaverde's throwing rockets at you, and you're like, oh, I got to catch the ball now. So there is an element of adjustment for college players. I mean, the guys that can do both. I mean, a guy like O.J. Howard, who came out of college from Alabama, did both of those things, was able to get in line, move, get in the backfield, extend. A lot of guys are extended now in coming out of college. And the pros, I think they're a little more adjusted to that, like an Ingram for the Giants. I mean, a guy that can go out there and kind of utilize his specialty in space. And if you can do both, I'm telling you now, those tight ends will last in the NFL, and if they can stay healthy and learn how to block and institute that in their game, they can extend their career. So,
well, that's phenomenal. You've played the position, you've coached the position, you're really working with a lot of these young guys as they're coming through. Really, really appreciate your time today, Anthony. Got a bunch of notes taken down here. We're going to get better at evaluating this tight end position. Thank you, man.
Well, Daniel, I also got the coach, and I also got the experience to get fired. So I've been fired on all levels across the board, let go of some of my positions. So it's come full circle for me for sure.
Well, look, hey, raise your hand if you've been fired before. I got mine up.
No doubt.
We've been there. Thank you, brother. Hit them straight, man.
I appreciate it, man. Great talking to you, man.
Well, Buck, again, I always keep coming back to the same thing. I feel like we're learning a lot when we listen to these experts talk about the position, and we've got notebooks full of notes from this series.
Yeah, it's a unique position. Tight end is a hybrid position because you think about blending an offensive lineman with a wide receiver, and you want a guy that can do both things, meaning they can be effective in the run game but also be effective in the passing game. Hard to find guys who have those kind of skills and versatility to be able to really dominate in both aspects.
By the way, some good-looking lids there. Some good-looking hats on the table.
You like those?
Do you have a favorite? Because I'm thinking that the 49er hat might be a little underrated. That's a classic look. Just to your left there. It's right in front of you.
It's a classic look. I like the Seahawks thing. Haven't been there. Yeah, I mean, it's nice. A nice classic look. I can't go that way. Cowboys is always a fan favorite.
Yeah, as a
so
Seahawk, you can't get on with it because of your time with the Seahawks. I see how it is.
Hard. It's hard. It's hard to separate.
All right, let's finish the conversation on the tight ends. If we're looking for a prototype, the way the game is played today, and you had to just choose one player, who is it?
Oh, it's Travis Kelce from the Kansas City Chiefs. Travis Kelce is the guy that I'm looking to build a franchise around at the tight end position. This is a guy that is athletic. He can make plays on the perimeter, does a great job of winning his one-on-one matchups. He really moves around like a wide receiver on the perimeter, but he's improved dramatically as a blocker. I just think Travis Kelce is everything that you want at the position. Dominant player, matchup nightmare. He's a perennial Pro Bowl candidate.
Yeah, we haven't been on the same page on a lot of these when we go through these prototypes in terms of who that guy is. This one, we're in agreement. I think it is Kelce. And you look at Rob Gronkowski, what he was able to do over his career. He was kind of always that guy. Gronk has since retired. Travis Kelce, the mantle has passed to him. I would just throw in one other name, though, as a detached tight end, so somebody that's not going to always be hand in the ground. I think when you look at what Zach Ertz is able to do as a route runner in that role, basically functioning as a big slot receiver, to me, he's that prototype if you're looking for a move tight end or somebody you can detach from the line of scrimmage.
It's funny that you wrote it down. I wrote down George Kittle. George Kittle's another guy that you could talk about being a prototype because coming from Iowa, solid blocker, also has been a terrific catch and run specialist at tight end. I think the league is in a really good spot when it comes to these tight ends. A lot of guys that can make plays while also being serviceable blockers. There was a time where you couldn't find a guy who had multiple skills like that, but now with the way the game is evolving, we're beginning to see these tight ends be difference makers on respective offenses.
And again, if you want to catch the rest of this series, NFL.com/MTS prototype. All right, it's time now for Training Camp Spotlight presented by New Era. And I'd like to go through a couple divisions, Buck. We're going to get our eyes towards the West here, the NFC West as well as the AFC West. One big storyline we're focusing on. You ready to roll?
Let's do it.
All right, I'll jump in here first. NFC West. Let's start with the Rams, the team that owned this division last year, coming off a 13-3 season. To me, the focus for me, I know everybody's talking about Todd Gurley. I want to see this offensive line, an offensive line that really I thought got handled in the Super Bowl last year by the New England Patriots. Not a lot of people focused on that. That, to me, is the one question mark with this team. Now, they've made a couple changes. Roger Saffold has moved on. There's some new pieces in place along this offensive line. Andrew Whitworth has had such a storied career, but he's getting a little bit older. So how does this group, how do they come together? How do they protect Jared Goff? And whether Gurley's healthy or not, can they get that same push and save movement they were able to get during the regular season last year? The Rams offensive line under the spotlight for me.
Yeah, they should be under the spotlight because this is a team that we saw them get beat up in the Super Bowl by the New England Patriots. We know that every defensive coordinator, every team is really going to copy that tape and kind of throw that strategy back at the Rams. They have to be able to deal with it. Obviously, I want to see what Todd Gurley looks like. Todd Gurley's been such an important part of the offensive puzzle for the Rams the last 2 years. We've seen him score touchdown after touchdown, tally up a bunch of scrimmage yards. But if he is not the same back, what are they able to get out of the backups? And then when you go to the defense side of the ball, I still have questions about their linebacker core. I love the pieces in the back end. I like the front four, but I just wonder, do they have enough at the second level to be able to really dominate people the way they need to?
Yeah, to me, it's going to be interesting to follow this football team and see if they can repeat what they did last year. I get to the Seattle Seahawks playoff team last year, 10-6. I'm going to look at the pieces on that defensive line. Well, you make a decision to move on from Frank Clark, who was really a top 5 pass rusher in this league. How does this group come together to replace that production? They go out and they draft an L.J. Collier out of TCU. Need to get him healthy and on the field. You've got Jaron Reed, who really emerged as an outstanding interior pass rusher last year. He's going to be suspended to start the season. You've got Rasheem Green's a young player that I like. Puna Ford, underrated, came in as a college free agent out of Texas. So they've got some talent in this group. It's just a matter of getting it healthy, getting it back off suspension, and can they produce? Because that is a big loss. I don't think too many folks talked about that in the offseason, Buck, just how big of a deal it was for Frank Clark to move on from Seattle as he was traded to Kansas City.
Yeah, the Seahawks are a unique team. They're a unique team because this is a team that traditionally for years have been led by their defense, but last year their offense kind of carried them, and they were able to employ a keep-away strategy by running the ball more than any other team. Ran the ball on 52% of their offensive snaps after really being a pass-first team the first 2 weeks. Speaks volumes about Brian Schottenheimer's commitment to the running game, how they want to beat people up at the line of scrimmage, and that offensive line responded in splendid fashion. Now, can they continue to build on it? They had a nice running back, but can they get another one? Their first-round pick, Rashad Penny, to come to the party and be a playmaker. If they can get him and Carson and Russell Wilson to add some occasional runs, they still should be able to dominate people with the running game. And I believe that defense will grow, but you did highlight some of the issues that they have.
Yeah, no doubt. It'll be interesting to see how this team comes together on that side of the ball. When we get to the 49ers, 4-12 team, I've been on record with this team saying I think they're going to be the most improved team in the National Football League, and that starts a lot with being able to get your quarterback healthy in Jimmy Garoppolo. But to me, the storyline, how about this young group of wide receivers? How about the law firm of Pettis, Samuel, and Hurd? How these guys all come together. Got a chance to see a little glimpse of what they can do in the preseason so far. I love how they've used Jalen Hurd in the slot, get him the ball, use him on some of those deep crossers. Outstanding after the catch. Deebo Samuel, instant speed and burst on the outside. You can use him on reverse, get the ball in his hands as well. And then Dante Pettis showed us last year some of that deep speed and big playability he has. So maybe not the biggest names out there, but I think those 3 wide receivers are going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, fun to watch in particular. I mean, that first week of the preseason, they dominated. You talk about Jalen Hurd having 2 touchdowns, Deebo Samuel having 61 receiving yards, 14 yards on the reverse. These 2 guys look like they're really major contributors in the passing game, ready to kind of break out. And then you still have Marquise Goodwin and some of those other guys, Dante Pettis being around. But those 2 guys.
George Kittle, obviously the big one.
George Kittle. But those 2 guys give them some juice, give them some versatility. I know Kyle Shanahan has to be excited to have some new toys to kind of mess with on the perimeter.
All right, let's get to the Arizona Cardinals, a team, worst team in the NFL last year. They earned that number 1 overall pick with their 3-13 record. I'm not going to try and reinvent the wheel here. It's going to be Kyler Murray. That's the storyline everybody's watching. How does he translate to the NFL? And, you know, Buck, watching this team during the preseason week 1, being there live in person, they're not even running the offense they're going to run in the regular season. They played with the tight end. That was a slow pace. They're huddling up. They're not going to do any of that stuff when the regular season starts. So I don't know what you can pull from the preseason, but I'm anxious to see how this all comes together during the regular season. And the challenge to me for Kyler Murray, Cliff Kingsbury in this offense is not going to be moving the ball between the 20s. To me, it's going to be, can they cash it in once they get down in the red zone? And that spread attack, that's where it can be a little more difficult. So red zone will be a key area for them to focus on.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a key area for them to focus on. I also think turnovers has to be probably the biggest key. The young quarterback has to take care of the ball, can't put the defense in bad situations and expect them to kind of hold up their end of the bargain. Kyler Murray has to be smart. He has to be efficient. I think the big thing that I would say is they can be aggressive but not reckless. So they can be aggressive with their pace of play. They can be aggressive with how they want to attack the defense, but they can't be reckless and careless. Can't turn the ball over. Don't want to give up too many big plays. They do those things, they can stay in games and then put it in the hands of your number 1 pick to see if he can win it in the end.
All right, let's get over to the AFC West here, Buck. Start us off.
You know, when I'm looking at the AFC West, the first team that comes to mind, the Kansas City Chiefs. They won the division last year with a 12-4 record. And the big headline for me is going to be, where's the D? Because the defense is the only thing that's keeping this team away from the Super Bowl party. If the defense shows up with Steve Spagnuolo taking over, they'll have a chance. But the defense has to show up because I think that offense is going to be lights out.
Yeah, and I look at the 2 key additions. We mentioned Frank Clark a little bit earlier. Then you look at Tyrann Mathieu. So they've got really a talented addition in the front end as well as the back end. We'll see if they can provide some big plays for this Chiefs defense.
Yeah, they got to provide some big plays. This Chiefs defense has to get up to snuff to, you don't want to jeopardize the prime years of your quarterback, Pat Mahomes. You want to make sure you cash in when you got a chance.
All right, who we got next?
Here we go. So we go with your favorite team, your LA Chargers. And I think the storyline really circles around Melvin Gordon. And even though there are plenty of us that believe that the Chargers don't need Melvin Gordon to be a viable Super Bowl contender, I think there is a little something different when the normal starter is there and he is able to give you everything that he can bring. Running the ball, catching the ball out the backfield, willing, blocker. It's just a matter of him finding the right number, the right monetary value to come in. They have to have him at some point. They can win early, but late, they need Melvin Gordon on the field.
Yeah, look, he's the best running back on the roster, and I love the young players they have in Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson, but you'd like to be able to get Melvin Gordon back in the mix. The interesting thing will be when he does come back is how they divvy up these carries, because Melvin Gordon last year was nicked up. You want to keep him fresh coming down the stretch. When he does come back in, I'm anxious to see, hey, maybe you lighten that load a little bit early on in the season because you've got more than capable players in Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson.
Yeah, that's certainly a way to go about it. They can take their time kind of working him back into the line because they really only need him when it gets down to the crunch time, when it gets time to go into the playoffs and see if they can control the game, control the clock. That's really when they need him. Prior to that, they can get by with the other guys because let's be real. This offense is driven by number 17. Phillip Rivers is really what makes them go. Melvin Gordon is a side piece, a side dish, not the entree. He's the sweet potatoes, he's the green beans, he's all that. But Phillip Rivers is the steak, and as long as they keep the main thing, I think they're going to be fine.
All right, get us to who's next here. We got the Broncos.
Here we go. Denver Broncos finished 6-10 a year ago. New coaching staff comes in. Vic Fangio takes over. He wants to make them a rougher, tougher team. the defense is normally where I would focus. But I'm going to look at this offense because Joe Flacco comes over, and having had an opportunity to watch the Broncos now twice, I believe this stretch bootleg system that Rich Scangrello is putting in, I think it's a nice fit for him. I like what I've seen so far, and I think this running game, because we saw Royce Freeman show up and have a big run in week 1 of the preseason, if they can get the big back to go with the small back, Phillip Lindsay, to complement what they want to do with Joe Flacco, maybe offensively they can put up just enough points to give their defense a little breathing room.
Yeah, I think this defense is going to be one of the best in the NFL, too. I mean, when you look at the defenses in this division, between them and the Chargers, I think they have a chance to have 2 of the top 5 units in the league. Very, very good defenses. And guys running the defenses with plenty of experience and a nice track record. Vic Fangio, go ahead and take care of business on that side of the ball. How about the Raiders?
You know, I was really excited about the Raiders going into the year. I was excited because John Gruden has always professed his love for AB. I thought Antonio Brown was going to be a terrific playmaker for them. But then all of the distractions that have come along with it, and we're only a couple weeks into training camp. First defeat, now the helmet. I just wonder, is AB ever going to be in a point where he can just be at peace with what's going on and really focus on the task? This is a guy that not only has the ability to impact this team on the field, but he's a huge influence on the culture of the locker room. And right now, I just don't like the energy that's coming from the building. It's on AB. They got to fix this. They can't continue to allow these kind of things to go public. The Raiders have to kind of contain the culture of the locker room.
Yeah, if you're hoping for kind of a low-key training camp, that's out the window now with what's taking place here. This Antonio Brown situation. To me, I would say the one thing I'm looking forward to, don't worry about the wins and the losses. Just watch some of these young players and how they grow and develop. And when you look on the offensive side of the ball, Josh Jacobs, as the rookie running back, what can he do in this system? And then on the defensive side of the ball, I know Cleveland Farrell was their top pick, but I'm more intrigued to see my guy Jonathan Abram, what he does in the back end, who's just going to fly around and smack people. So there'll be some good young players to keep an eye on this Raiders defense. Looking forward to watching them this fall. That was Training Camp Spotlight presented by New Era. All right, Buck, tell the folks where they can find the podcast.
They always can download the Move the Sticks podcast at Apple Podcasts or on their favorite podcast app. Or you can check out the entire Move the Sticks position prototype series at NFL/MTS Prototype. For more videos, you also can check out our new YouTube channel at youtube.com/NFL Podcast.
NFL.com/MTS Prototype. Get on that series if you haven't checked that out. And again, I love this whole YouTube channel we have now for all of our podcasts. YouTube.com/NFL Podcast. You got Around the NFL, you've got Dan Mishek, you've got Fantasy, you've got Move the Stick. So all of your NFL media podcasts, we're under one roof. We're going to have, I'm sure, Money and Cynthia with Game Theory and Money. You'll have that on there as well. So all your needs covered, NFL or youtube.com/NFL Podcast. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thank you for watching Move the Sticks, presented by New Era.